It's the Councilman Tuesday, so.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. I'd like to call to order the Finance and Governance Committee to order for July 9th, 2024. Madam Clerk, roll call and post under the agenda.
Chair Zaragoza,
Here?
Member Turan,
Here.
Member Basua.
Here?
We have a quorum, and the agenda for this meeting was posted in the City Hall Bulletin Board on July 2nd, 2024.
Thank you. Please help me salute our flag. Thank you. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Okay. Now we go to item B, public comments not on the agenda. Madam Clerk, do we have any speakers either virtually or here?
Chair Zaragoza, there are no public speakers virtually or in person for this item.
Thank you. So we're going to item C, this consent. And this is City Clerk Department approval of the minutes that the Finance and Governance Committee recommend approval of the minutes for June 11, 2024 regular meeting as presented. Members, any comments, concerns? No. Motion?
I'll move to accept the minutes as presented.
Second.
Motion by Turan and second by Basua. Please vote.
Motion passes 3-0.
Thank you. Our next item is item D1, reports. This is City Manager Department. Subject was whistleblower activity report. Recommendation of the Finance and Governance Committee receive and file an update on the whistleblower hotline. And of course, this was also following a Measure M pre-recorded presentation. And we do have Annie here with us for any additional information that the council members might have at this time. I just want to ask a quick question, Annie. My understanding that that we had about 7 concerns and only one of them was really a credible one. Is that correct?
That's correct. 6 were deemed by our internal auditor to have no relevance or merit. Usually this means it's actually with a different agency versus the city, or it's just something that doesn't rise to that criteria. And they did have 1 report that they deemed had relevance and merit.
Annie, my understanding that some of the reporting has to do with high priorities and then medium priority and then low priority. Just quick information, what's the high priority, medium, and then low?
Sure. High priority is, let me get my list of specifics. High priority is anything that could include potential loss to the city of more than $75,000, high-level management involvement, collusion of multiple wrongdoers, or large department-wide issues. Medium priority is financial loss up to the city up to about $25,000, abuse of authority, medium to low-level employee involvement, and minor department-wide issues. And low priority is also up to that dollar amount, $25,000 of potential loss. And then it's generally smaller things, isolated incidences of time abuse, wasteful practices where efficiencies could be implemented.
And my understanding that there's a hotline for that for anybody who wants to have, share some information, and it's all confidential.
That's correct. Yeah, it's all confidential. We can't get that data even if we want to. The company basically scrambles the reporting when it comes in, so we can't reach back out unless we have an online or a live hotline, but we also have an online portal. And if the reporter chooses to provide their email address, the city can't see it, but I can message them through that portal.
But, I think, the, having 7 reports in one really supposedly was an important one, but not important enough to come to us. So I think for a city of 200,000+, that's pretty good. Pretty
I
good
think so
report.
too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So thank you for that report. Councilmember.
Thank you, Mayor, and thank you for the presentation. Just for full transparency on it, as the mayor alluded to, there were 7 incidents to report for this reporting period, and one of them out of the 7 was found to rise to the level of priority, and it was considered low priority, correct?
That's correct.
And then looking at the outcome of that, it was investigated and was found to be untrue, or unfounded.
That's correct. Yes, both the police department as well as our HR department, in addition to the department that was named in that report, all looked into it and we were not able to substantiate the claim made.
Okay, and that was just the one of the 7, and so I appreciate the information that could be shared on that, just so the public knows that there's not only this resource available to not only members of the public, but folks within the city of Oxnard who work for the city and may suspect that fraud, waste, or abuse is occurring, they can access it and do so anonymously. So thank you again.
Thank you very much.
Councilor Basua. Madam Clerk, any speakers on this item virtually or in person?
Chair Zaragoza, there are no speakers virtually or in person for this item.
Okay, council members, it's a pleasure.
I see the recommendation is to receive and file this to the committee. This wouldn't go to the
Go to
council,
the
correct?
committee. Okay, thank you. So our next item is item D2. This is Information Technology Department, Second Amendment to Agreement 324000125 with Haircloth IT Consulting and Recruiting Services. Recommendation, the Finance and Governance Committee recommend that the City Council approve and authorize the mayor to execute a Second Amendment for Professional Services Agreement 324000125 with Haircloth Incorporated to increase the value of the agreement from $850,000 to $1,500,000 through June 30, 2025 for information technology and consulting recruiting services. And we have, I think, Mr. Rubin here for any additional information. Robert Rubin. So anyway, Ruben, I'd just like to have a quick question, that my understanding that the increase in funds is going to help execute some of the city council approval for uninterrupted use of the vendor services. Can you explain a little bit on that?
Sure. Good afternoon,
Thank you.
council members. Rob Rubin, CIO here at Oxnard.
Yeah.
So there's a number of initiatives that we do here in IT, and where we use a mix of different resources, some of which full-time employees, some contractors, and some vendors. And so this recruiting firm, as well as the other one that's we're in contract with as well, does 2 separate things under the same contract. They bring us contract labor that can be here for 3 to 6 months to do specific projects, and they also do recruitment for full-time people.
Okay.
And so what we've been able to do with these firms as well is at times we'll have an immediate need that we know we need somebody for a few months to do some specific projects. And as they are here and they get some work done, we're also able to make an evaluation as to whether or not they potentially, if we have a longer term need and their skill set matches it, we can convert them. And so we've actually done that with several folks that came in as contractors and are now employees. So we're able to do a number of different things with vendors like this.
So there's other companies that could provide those consultants temporarily for 2-3 months, you know.
Yeah, and we use them up to 6 months.
And my understanding in your report also that it's very difficult right now to actually hire or bring people in for the IT services.
It's
Like,
difficult.
all the way across, is my understanding.
Across the nation, it's difficult, and we have a smaller community here, and then policies that require on-site work, so it narrows down the pool quite a bit. We also have, specific technologies to a city that also continue to kind of limit the pool of available contractors or employees out there.
Yeah, and
as well.
besides the other divisions and also departments, police and fire need a lot of help too.
Yep, and so a lot of the projects we've worked on are public safety related, there's cybersecurity related, as well as augmenting a great deal of things throughout the city for basically, I would say for pretty much every single department.
And I think it's important for the public to understand that public safety is extremely important to all of us, and that IT services is extremely important for all of us, you know.
Any other questions?
Thank you, Mayor. And thank you, Mr. Rubin, for the information. Just 2 quick points here. In the staff report, it does make reference to the other company that we use, and it looks like just for personnel changes that they've had, we're looking for continuity of service by having HireCloud possibly take over that. And I just want to ensure that if we had another company doing it, HireCloud, we know has the capacity and the expertise and credentials to do whatever the other company was doing, because it relates to public safety systems, correct?
That's correct. So we had a couple of key members of a public safety firm that we are using leave that company, but we were able to bring them in as a part-time basis through this HireCloud recruiting firm.
I see.
So we're able to retain the specific knowledge that they have and the work that they've already done for public safety. And we've been able to retain that by routing them in a different way. We've actually saved a little bit of money by doing it.
Okay, that's great to hear. And just to your point and the mayor's point about the challenges facing the IT market as it comes to hiring folks and finding folks to work on our systems, it's not only finding someone who knows how to install RAM and how to update Windows 11, that kind of. There's a lot more technical things in that when you look at our network administrators, when you look at security folks, when you look at even our front-facing desk folks. There's certain skill sets they need to bring, but as you mentioned with the city of Oxnard, we have some unique infrastructure that we're still updating as time goes on, which, as you said, does require a certain level of knowledge. And you can correct me if I'm wrong. I think about it like finding a mechanic for an old car that's no longer continued anymore, right? And if you go to the dealership, they may not know how to work on that car because they're all trained in the newest stuff.
That's right.
Does that sound like a good analogy?
That's a tremendous analogy, and for an additional reason beyond what you mentioned. So sometimes those are hard to find, period. But if you know you're not going to keep that old car for very long, you don't necessarily want to make a permanent connection with that particular mechanic and basically have him, bring him on as an employee, so to speak.
Sure.
So in this case, there are times where we don't want to retain an old skill set. We need it temporarily, but we don't want to retain it long-term.
Thank you.
So those are perfect examples of when we want to bring in a contractor because the skill set is behind where we want to be, but is where we're at. And we don't necessarily want to bring that on as a permanent.
Sure, thank you for that. And let alone the fact, I think, with some of our technology in the city of Oxnard over the few decades, you may sometimes need to find a mechanic who specializes in Chevys that have like a Jaguar engine and has that level of knowledge for things that are shoehorned together. But that's my words, not yours, Mr. Rubin. But we have some great staff. I've talked with a lot of them, and they've really got the city's best interest and the public's best interest in mind in everything they do, and they're great to work with. So thank you.
Yeah, I'll pass that along, by the way, so thank you for that.
Councilman Basua? One last question I was going to ask, when you hire consultants we have security issues too. Do those consultants that come in, do they work on the entire system or a segment of, or how do we protect our security? Would be, there's I know there's financial security, there's other securities that we have to look at.
So all the contractors, even the temporary ones, are done with a PD background. They were fingerprinted, live scanned. They don't, by default, have any ability to work on public safety unless they go
Items.
through a much more strict process. So those are some ways, and we certainly don't give the keys to the firewalls and that kind of thing to contractors. So we have to reserve some of the things that require high level of security.
The reason I'm asking is because you need to know who you hire, to get involved into the IT processes and so forth.
Absolutely.
Thank you, Mr. Rubin. Any speakers on this item?
Chair Zaragoza, there's no speakers virtually or in person for this item.
Okay, I'm looking for motion.
I'll move the recommended action.
I'll second.
First by Tehran, second by Basua. Please vote. Thank you, Mr. Rubin.
All right, thank you.
Motion passes 3-0.
Well, I mentioned that. We didn't have any speakers for whistleblowers. We didn't have any other speakers for any other items.
That's correct, Chair Zaragoza.
Thank you. Okay, item E, any future agenda items? Council members? No?
No, I don't.
None at this time.
Okay, then we are adjourned. Thank you.